the group for sharing the progress you made. So palakpak a round of applause naman po for the progress they've made and also for sharing with us their presentation. Okay, so our next group is from the Bureau of Internal Revenue. So they'll talk about the online business registration system. Okay, so you now have the floor po, ma'am.
Sige, ma'am. Ano ko lang, ma'am. Stop sharing. Thank you, ma'am Beatrice.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay po, so let's welcome yung BIR, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, and then let's hear about their service improvement.
Yes, good morning. Pasensya na po ang tenga ko magkaiba yung kanan at saka magkaiba yung kaliwa nakikinig. I need to be active also in the other meeting. So let me just allow me to share my screen. Okay. Ayan. So for BIR, does it take? So let me just go over it. Okay. So our project is an online application for registration of corporation. This means these are new corporations that has been organized. And the system would facilitate an end-to-end process of registration of new corporations. So when you say end-to-end, kasi mahaba po yung proseso ng registration natin, hindi lang yan issuance ng TIN, may business po na kailangan din i-register. That includes also some tax type, payment of registration fee, and then registration of their receipts and invoices that will have to be used, whichever is applicable. So the project initially would be for newly organized corporations. And there are 3 steps to register as a corporate taxpayers. Ito, sinamarize na lang namin. So that would be, you will have to submit whatever yung requirements. And then B, you pay. And then third is receive your certificate of registration, your TIN, and all other documents that will be given as a newly registered taxpayer. Now, estimated time, since this is an end-to-end process, system siya, online, is 30 minutes. Okay, so that's our projected timeline for the entire registration process. Okay, now why do we have these particular projects? Initially, we have identified some of the bottlenecks, like existing now, since manual po ang proseso na ginagawa in the past. So mayroon po tayong long queues. Knowing that mahaba ang pila ng taxpayers, delikado po sa mga taxpayers at sa mga empleyado rin ng BIR pag maraming tao because of the COVID pandemic po natin ngayon. At the same time, manpower is also a bottleneck because of the COVID protocols. We follow the IATF. So there are times where only 30% of our frontliners are available to render the service. Nag-increase nitong bandang huli sa 50%. But yet, they may not be sufficient considering some RDOs, Revenue District Offices of the BIR, which is nationwide. Some of them have, big number of applications that needs to be processed. This is on top of whatever responsibilities and work that they have. Now, also, we have slow processing. Currently, we have our integrated tax system or ITS. It's a core system of the BIR, which is actually 23 years already. So you expect matanda na siya, bumabagal na po siya. And at the same time, hindi lang po yun, meron ding issues on internet connections and connectivities. So technical po ang ilan sa mga nagiging reason sa ng slow processing. And taxpayer can only register to the RDO, which means physically pupunta po sila doon sa RDO kung saan po registered yung principal address of the business. So in other words, if your business, let's say, is in Sampaloc, you have to go to RDO that covers this particular address of the business. So hindi po siya yung kahit saan BIR pwede ka pumunta. Jurisdictional siya. Okay. Now, what were their delays? Number of transactions in relation to manpower availability. Of course, there are delays in some cases because the number of transactions would actually have an impact on the number of manpower that is available. As I've said earlier, nagpa-practice tayo ng IATF requirements. So, minsan 30% lang yung tao natin na nandoon sa actual frontline services, and therefore, that would now have an impact on the processing of their transactions. Hindi naman po ito kasi yung trabaho na pwede mong iuwi sa bahay at sa bahay mo gawin if you are in work from home, since the access to the system is limited only inside BIR premises. And then, systems downtime. Of course, dahil sabi ko, luma na nga, most of the time, nagkakaproblema po tayo, nagkakaroon ng mga downtime yung systems namin that delays further the processing of transactions of our applicant taxpayers. Now, what resources are wasted? With that particular delays and pain points or bottlenecks, of course, nasasayang po yung manpower natin, no? Yung efforts ng manpower natin kasi they should have actually, they could be more productive, no? Hindi yung parang minsan mga clerical work lang ang nagagawa nila. And then time of the taxpayer, since they have to go to BIR, wait for long queues, wait until the transaction is done. So kung minsan po buong araw yan, naghihintay sila. In some cases, kung may problema pa sa system, babalik pa po sila. And that would actually be leading to cost to travel also on the part of the taxpayer natin, and health issues because of their exposure to other people, and even yung pong ating mga tao din, no, yung health hazard, no, na tinatawag natin, since ang mga taxpayers po ay marami pong dumarating sa bawat revenue district office ng BIR. And then, pain points, negative feedback. Actually, mayroon po kami na feedback survey that is being given to taxpayers that are transacting with us in the front line. And mayroon din pong mga negative doon. Now, ang nakita namin as far as yung ibang mga negative is the attitude of our frontliners, maybe because, well, not justified, but, you know, mayroong kasing mga taxpayers that are already agitated. No? Medyo galit na. And in some cases, pag galit ang taxpayer, minsan mayroong pong mga frontliners tayo na nag-react doon sa particular attitude na yan. And because of that, medyo nagkakaroon ng konting impact na si taxpayer naiinis, nagagalit, naiinip. So lahat po yan, lumalabas po yan sa aming mga feedback questionnaire. And if there is a specific name that is indicated in the negative feedback that is given to a particular employee, the RDOs are actually given responsibility on addressing that particular feedback about our employees. Now, there are also some instances where our employee would be requiring additional documents, although we strictly follow the requirements under our Citizens Charter. Listed naman po doon kung ano yung mga documents, but there are still some people that are mandating certain requirements for whatever validation or verification that they may want. And of course, dahil mano-mano, sometimes slow processing impacts is because of few manpower, system downtime, and of course other activities where our frontliners will have to attend to. So medyo nagkakaroon po ng impact sa processing natin. Okay, no, those are the productivity gaps. Now, how did we improve this particular service? First, of course, naisip namin na dahil VIR is actually now into digital transformation starting 2020 up to 2030. So most of our services are being converted, manual services are being converted to electronic, digital way of handling transactions. So for this particular project, ang objective po namin is to elevate taxpayers' registration experience by providing an efficient and seamless process leading to an improved tax compliance. So yan po yung ating objective on this particular project. Now, what are the key features of the service improvement? Facing the client is we have online registration, which is secured with secured and scalable infrastructure, and also single database. Now, there is this single database because currently, the BIR, our core system, the old one, we have actually 5 database which nagkakaroon kami ng problema sa synchronization of the data dahil 5 database yung tinitignan pa. So what we envisioned is our system would now be in one single database, and therefore all information will be in just one container. So there's no need anymore for any data synchronization or periodic update of databases. Okay, on the side of the BIR internally, the system would have a change in registration policies. Therefore, we need to issue revenue issuances, whether it be a revenue regulation, revenue memorandum circular, or revenue memorandum order, in order to implement these particular changes in our processes, documentation requirement, and even on policies. And also, since this will be an online system, there will be no more face-to-face interaction of our people with taxpayers. So, malaking bagay ito as far as health hazard, and also our people now will be more productive in terms of things that they can do since hindi na po sila yung nakaharap doon sa at nag-a-action doon sa requirements ng mga registration. Okay, next. What steps have you taken to further develop and implement the service improvement? As part of the activity that we have done in our training, there is that particular testing of our prototype to certain stakeholders that we have identified. In our case, we identified internal user and external users of the system. So, in order to develop the existing service natin, we considered the comments of our stakeholders during the prototype presentation. So we asked them during that time, we got the feedback after the prototype presentation. We got their feedback on how they would want the system to be, what they require. And with that particular requirement, both on the internal and external namin na mga testers, we consider that in the development of our service improvement. Now, what are the milestones of the project? So we identified these are major, okay? First, we have procurement, identification or the user story. So both ito po user stories natin. Ito yung mga requirements. And then of course, we have development. We have the user acceptance training and then eventually implementation. So ito yung major milestone that we have for the project. Now, what gains have we since the implementation? As far as of today, the project is still under development. So hindi pa po siya na-i-implement, which means we cannot yet measure gains on this particular project. Just the same, since hindi pa po siya na-implement, we cannot have any feedback yet from our clients, both internal, of course, and external. Wala pa po tayo nito. Ongoing pa po yung development. Tentatively, the scheduled rollout or implementation is by first quarter of 2022. Yeah. Okay. Key learnings and next steps. What were the challenges that you encountered in further developing, implementing your project? How did you address them? When we attended this particular training, no, on the designing client-centered na mga projects natin, we actually have already the online registration project. Okay, it's under during that time, it's actually under already validation of user stories. So parang designing stage siya. Now, ano yung naging challenge? On the basis of our experience in the prototype and with a list of these stakeholders have identified, we actually would want the changes that we see to be included in the design of the system that is supposed to be implemented by BIR. However, we find it difficult to introduce change in the original design of the system. Kasi hindi siya ganon kadali dahil may mga process owner na tinatawag, and the process owner should be the one to decide on what are the requirements. So since pumasok yung ating observations and supposed to be comments or suggestions to further improve yung whatever design that they have on online registration, hindi namin siya basta ma-introduce, no? But instead, parang naging challenge na kung ganito yung dinesign nila at base dun sa napag-aralan dito sa sessions natin, naka-align ba or meron ba silang hindi nakita during this particular sessions? Because we had a different methodology, no, in coming up with our requirements. So now we have seen some gaps, which unfortunately hindi mo siya basta-basta lang po pwedeng sabihin na, oy, i-insert mo to, oy, idagdag nyo to. No? It's not that, because we also have our terms of reference, and the terms of reference is already there, and you cannot just change anything there. Okay. And then, availability of the project due to conflict of other projects. As I said earlier, the BIR is into what do you call this? Digitalization or digital transformation. And we have several digital projects. Now, the registration system that is supposed to be being designed is actually, it has dependencies on certain other projects of the BIR. So I think that is something that we will have to look to. In fact, there is a delay in the timeline because of this dependency on the project or other projects of the BIR. So mayroon pong mga lookup, kailangan ng API. These are technical terminologies, but these are also some of the reasons why the project has been delayed. And then availability of project due to conflict with other projects. Okay, actually availability of people that handles project. In the BIR, dahil sabay-sabay po ang mga projects namin, most of the time, the same people are assigned in the project. So you just imagine, like ako halimbawa, I handle not only one project, sabay-sabay po ito lahat tumatakbo. And so focus-wise, medyo nakahati po yung ating focus. Hindi ka nakaka-concentrate purely 100% in the project. Dahil you have to look at different projects at the same time. Okay. And then based on your experience, what did you learn about your service or project or client? With experience that we have, considering that kasi nga ginawa namin dito parang testing, no? We challenge ourselves. We challenge what we have done initially in relation to this particular methodology na ginawa natin. So now, ang natutunan po namin is that any project is subject to further improvement because of time. As you go along with the project, habang tumatagal yung project, nagbabago, humahaba, dumadami yung mga pagbabago na minsan nakita mo, ay, dapat sana ganon. Ay, pwede pala yung ganon, no? So parang yung mga requirements ng stakeholders, nababago din as you go along. And that means that also because of technology, sorry po, nawala. Ayan. And that because of technology na alam natin kung gaano kabilis, no? Kailangan din palit ng palit din po. We did also to consider that. So parang sa amin, a project is something that that will be this today, but will have to be improved further tomorrow. So walang project that's perfect. Every now and then you have to change. You have to improve because of stakeholders' requirement, because of technology, because of agency, and even budgetary requirements. In which case, what we have learned is that for purposes of projects that actually would cater to taxpayers, in our case, our client is the taxpayers, they have to be consulted. They have to be with you. They have to, we have to make sure that we consider what their needs, not just by putting ourselves in their shoes, because that is what we normally do, no? You identify requirements of your client by thinking that I am the client, but taking note that what you have experienced or what you know may not be the same as that of the client. So it may be that some of their requirements may be the same as yours, but there will be some requirements that sila lang yung nakakaalam kasi sila lang yung actual na nakaka-experience. So I think that is something that ako particularly in my case, something that I have learned na it's not enough that you put your shoes into your stakeholders' shoes. But just in case ang nangyari po, 'di ba? Ganyan na nga kayo yung nag-identify. There is another way to do to improve pagdating sa testing. Kasi normally, even in the testing of the system, it's still us doing the testing. We don't allow the stakeholders to do the testing. So I think this is something that we would consider, particularly nasa development kami ngayon, probably in the testing nitong system na to, we will have to involve our stakeholders, particularly taxpayers, not only BIR employees who are doing the job, but the taxpayers who will be using the system, since this particular system that we have is an online system and it's web-based. So it can be accessed anywhere through internet. Okay. Now, what are the areas of improvement? So wala pa po kasi nga to be developed pa lang, dinidevelop pa lang siya. And then what are the available opportunities to strengthen your project? Of course, technology, management support. This is something that we are proud of. The BIR management is 100% in support of whatever projects that we have. And then we have capable and committed BIR users. So ito, malaking bagay ito na yung mind conditioning ng mga tao is they are there to support whatever projects that we have, particularly in the digital transformation of the BIR. Now, how do you intend to strengthen your project? So yun, sinabi ko na kanina, involvement of external stakeholders in identifying loopholes or probably enhancement to the projects, acceptance and commitment of the users, and change management. Kasi yung mind conditioning is very important also for projects, especially if there will be changes in processes and people have been using this particular or used to in a process for na ginagamit nila for 10 years, 20 years, tapos suddenly you are going to change them. So we need change management for purposes of aligning their minds, convincing them, and of course, getting their acceptance and commitment of that particular project. Okay? So I guess that would be all as far as our sharing on the part of the Bureau of Internal Revenue. With me are my teammates. We have Gina Villasoto, we have Miss Linda Bautista, Miss Feli Virginias, and Miss Evelyn Garces. Yours po is Miss Janet Cruz of the Client Support Service of the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Maraming salamat and good morning po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, ma'am. Janet, thank you, BIR, for sharing with us the progress that you've made and the updates, of course, on your project. So we're also very excited to see the next steps for your project, especially as you begin to roll it out. Okay, so thank you again. And of course, for our participants here, please make sure that please send us your questions or your clarifications in the chat, and then we will read them out during our Q&A. Before that, we have one more presenter. So let's all welcome the Department of the Interior and Local Government, who will talk about their service improvement on that delegates the approving authority over requests for motor vehicle purchases. Okay, so let's give a round of applause to the Department of Interior and Local Government. So you have the floor na po for your presentation. Hello po, from the DILG. So,
Yes po, opo.
Okay po.
I-share lang po yung presentation. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to present the request for the issuance of Department Authority to LGUs to purchase vehicles po. So, this process po is requested by the LGU if you want to purchase motor vehicle before the release of their funds po. So sinasabit po nila ito together with other documents to the Department of Budget and Management for the release of the funds for each purpose po. So Melo, paki-share.
Yes, boss. Sharing na po, ma'am.
Thank you. So for as I said, the service is about for the issuance of Department Authority to LGUs to purchase vehicle. So dumadaan po muna po siya sa DILG bago po makabili ang local government units ng necessary vehicles like ambulance and other things po. So the local government units is our client on this service po. And for the client, it has 2 steps. And for the agency action, it has 7 with a total of 9 steps. 18 working days to able to complete the service, 1 hour if central office approval, and 13 working days with 1 hour if regional approval po. Kasi hindi naman po lahat dumadaan po sa central office. Yung mga SUV vehicle na high-end po, lang po yung dadaan sa central office, or otherwise, it will be approved by the regional office po. So what is the total? The total distance to complete the service is estimate. We have the personnel lang po, kinuha namin is the Quezon City LGU, which is 30 to 4 steps po. So because the DILG QC po, Quezon City is also on the same building. Next. So, there's a multiple layer of review in the process. Ito po yung naging bottlenecks. At ito rin po yung kinukon sa amin ng local government units. Kasi, yun nga sabi ko po, lalo na pag i-akit po sa central office, kasi isasamit po ito ng LGU sa DILG within their locality. And then, the locality, pag city po kasi, so diretso na po sa regional. Pero pag ang LGU po ay municipalities, dadaan pa po to sa province, DILG province, and the DILG province will submit it to the DILG regional office, and then if yun nga po, if in certain type of vehicles, kailangan po iakyat sa central office po. So then yun po yung nagiging multiple layer of review in the process po yung naging bottlenecks namin. So yung delays po doon, so yun po na the repeated review of the documents. So yun nga po, dahil sa multi-layer, so ilang review po yung tinadaanan ng documents. And our resources na tingin na waste po yung time kasi kung pwede sana hanggang regional or wala nang dadaan sa central office para mabawasan yung isang layer, but still yung time po, yung oras na dinadaan po sa pagre-review. At saka time for approval po. Then, kasi pag sa central office po, si secretary po talaga ang pipirma pagdating sa certificate po. Then, the pain points po yung the number of days in evaluating completeness of documents and the multiple layer of review in the process. For the service improvement, po yung aming tina-target is to lessen the number of days in processing the request. And the key feature of service improvements pagdating po sa client, yung client can monitor the status of application. So, ito po yung gagawin namin for, i-automate na po namin system. So, matatrack po ng client kung anong status na yon, lalo na pag inakit na po sa central office. Then, the coordination with the concerned party as to lacking of documents. So, may feature po yung system na in case na hindi po nakita na may mga documents po na kulang at nakaakit na po sa central office, so the central office can have direct conversation to the client po para makita po na ma-submit po agad ng client yung requirements na yun. Then, we can monitor the incoming request. It's faster processing time and direct coordination and also assurance of retrieval of CSS form. Kasi hindi po nila kukuha yung certificate hanggang hindi po nila na-fill upan yung CSS form. Next. So for the steps to further develop and implement the service, improvement po, magkakaroon po kami ng improvement or amendment sa existing policy. But before that, magkakaroon muna po kami ng consultation with the end user if they prepare to automate the process po. Then, the milestone of the project is ongoing na po yung development ng system. Actually, nagkaroon po kami ng free consultation that because we conducted a trainers training for the business process reengineering to our DILG field officers. So, ito po yung sinample namin process, yung purchase of ng vehicle po. And ang proposal po kasi namin dito is babawasan na po yung sa central office. So, kung pwede, hanggang regional office na lang po yung approval. But since the ROs po, hindi sila pumayag for that proposal kasi mas gusto po daw nila na ayaw nila lahat ng burden po nasa regional office. So, gusto pa rin nila yung existing policy po ng central but i-automate lang po. So, they suggested for the automation. Kaya, concerned office po yung Bureau of Local Government. Hello, sir. Sir BPI.
Ma'am, pasensya na po. May napindot lang po. Pasensya na po. Nag-ano lang po yung phone. Nagka-problema po. Pasensya na po.
Okay, thank you po.
Okay po, pasensya na po.
So yun po. So with that consultation po, initial consultation pa lang naman po yun. So the Bureau of Local Government Supervision po yung may handle po ng netong process na po nito, they already starting the development of the system. So, yun po yung mga features po kanina na sabi ko po. Next po. So the productivity gains are compare the productivity gaps before the service po. The development of the online system is still ongoing. So magkakaroon po kami ng wala pa po kami pwede i-compare kasi this is the first time po na i-develop pa lang po yung system. So kumukuha pa lang po kami ng mga feedback, kung ano po mga gusto ng mga regional offices po para po sa system. So NACA is very willing to give inputs and recommendation in the development of the system po. So the challenges na encounter po talaga namin kasi sabi nga kanina po kung pwede wag nila lang i-outsource within the department na lang hanggang maaari kung magde-develop po ng system. But ito po because of the lack of funds, siyempre and also siyempre pag kailangan kukuha ka ng IT personnel to develop the system para in-house siya. Although we have these ISMS, pero ito po yung hindi kami makakapag-hire kasi kung yun lang po na magiging trabaho niya for the development of the system. Dapat pag kumuha ka ng IT position, so dapat yun, go towards ka na talaga sa development. So parang yung pinag-isipan pa po. So yung funds pa rin po. And also kasi kailangan pagkukuha ka ng IT, kailangan nakaano po siya sa project. Then also, luckily po sa BLGS po kasi marami sila pong project management office and one of the project management office agreed to assist BLGS po for their IT officer po. So siya po yung nakuha na naka-engage sa project po na magde-develop po ng system. And then, based on our experience, what did you learn about your service project clients and others? The LGU kasi po, isa lang po ang requirements. Either single purchase or bulk purchase po. Ang nangyayari sa LGU minsan, nagsasubmit po sila for single purchase. Then afterwards, pag okay na po yung single purchase nila, saka po sila mag-request ng another bulk request naman po. So, yun po. So, kumbaga yung time allotment para sa bulk or single request, pareho lang po yung time. So, bakit hindi pala pagsabayin po ng LGU lahat? So, it will also kasi naman depend din po sa budget po ng local government units kasi they will going to use their own funds in purchasing the vehicle po. Saka ang isa pa po namin na natutuhan dito sa purchase, dito sa process na to, na ano po namin na kasi inisip nga namin to trim down the layer of review po, naisip namin na ibigay na lang po sa RO. But still, the RO is considered their roles for the implementing all the projects of the department. So mahirapan din po sila. So talagang automation po yung naiisip nila. So kung ano pong ng aming client, which is the DILG regional office, yun na rin po yung namin. Kumbaga, dapat pakinggan namin sila kung ano po yung kanilang suggestion po. So, what are the areas for improvement for the project? We need to review the policy, specifically on the limitations on the type and use of deployment of vehicles to be purchased po. So yun po, so yung type of vehicles kasi depende po yung kung i-akit po sa central office. So we need to review the existing policy. So also the available opportunities to strengthen our project is the willingness of the end users to help in the development of an online system for the request. So sabi ko nga, yun po yung demand nila para mas mapabilis po. And then, how do you intend to strengthen your project? We will go to conduct consultation in every step of the development. So, pag nabuo na po yung prototype A, we will consult them para mag-gather po namin kanilang inputs and further improvement of the system po. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Lucita. Thank you, DILG. So interesting po yung that's a very interesting development. We went from more reform side and now we're also integrating more technological or automation in our work. Okay, so let's congratulate all of our presenters from the last from this second round of presentation. So let's give them a round of applause, please. Yeah, so like digital clap. Okay, congratulations po. So I'd like to invite our presenters. Okay, I'd like to invite our presenters to turn on their cameras so we can have a quick Q&A. So we have some questions from the participants today. Okay, so I'll just pin our resource persons. Okay. So, wait lang po ah. Okay. Okay, so we have a few questions here already. So let's start off with so let's start with a rather general question. This is from Miss Juna Bell Rosales. So what are the data or process system challenges that you encountered, aside of course from the ICT related ones like your like of course yung sa tech natin, yung sa yung internet natin. So what are some other system or data processing challenges that you encountered?
For me sa DILG, siguro kasi since i-develop pa lang namin yung system, so wala pa siguro kami encounter na challenges. Yung, as I mentioned nga kanina, yung pag-hire, the lack of funds, and luckily lang may karoon ng PMO na willing to engage po na ipahiram yung kanilang IT. Yun lang po yung naging ano namin kasi mahirap naman po mag-hire ng IT at this time po. So kailangan i-create pa yung position kasi there's no position in the BLGS for that particular item po.
Yun, thank you po, ma'am, for that. So parang that also relates to that discussion a while ago on whether or not we should actually have in-house developers inside the government. But what about maybe from PIDEA or from BIR? What were some of the data processing challenges that you experienced?
Miss Bea, yeah. For BIR actually, that as far as yung system, well, alam na namin, no, there will be we have our new core system. I mentioned earlier we have an old core system, 23 years old. But last year we implemented, in the height of the pandemic, April 2020, we implemented our new core system. And that includes a new taxpayer registration system. Now, ano yung challenges namin? Actually, yung migration of data from the old system going to the new system, considering that the data that we have in the old, yung field requirement is different from the field requirements that we have now in the new system. So the mapping of the data, like let me just give a concrete example for you to better understand, no? Like for example, yung Philippine Standard Industry Code or the PSIC. This is the code of a particular business where taxpayer is engaged into. So in the old core system, we use 4 digits PSIC. And during that time, it's still 1990. I'm not sure if it's 1998 or 97 na PSIC. But now that we have implemented etong bago namin na core system, the PSIC is 5 digits, so it's more detailed. But the PSIC that we use now is based on the latest issued by PSA. So when we now transfer the data of taxpayers in the old system, we have to map which field goes to what field from the old to the new. So that's a very big challenge. No, it's actually a data issue that we have because there are some data that are available in the old, and you just have to transfer to what particular field based on the mapping. But there are data that are not available in the old, but a mandatory data required in the new. So we had to do something about it in the system so that we can push through with the migration. And then, of course, there's some validation. When we have migrated the data to the old, hindi natapos doon, mayroong manual validation. So you expect millions of data na titignan mo, tama ba na yung data ni taxpayer A for this field, nung nilipat doon sa bago, tama ba yung field na pinuntahan? So, ganon kabigat yung migration ng data na ginawa. At ngayon, ganyan din, no? In the new system that we have, there is this lookup naman. Etong new data dito sa bago and this particular online registration that our project, it will have a lookup dito sa new data. Ang nagiging problema, mayroon kang system in between so that the online system and our core system would communicate with each other. So, yun, mga technical challenges that we already have experienced. So, more or less, what is good about it is we have experience, we know now how to go about and what to look into. Medyo mas ano kami ngayon, marikotitos, no? Mas madetalye kami kasi nakita na namin yung mga basis experiences in the old system, kung ano yung mga dapat na gagawin with this transition that we have. So, yun. And then, we also have currently in the online registration that we have some concerns on the Data Privacy Act. Okay? So, alam naman natin lahat yan. So, online ito, mag-a-apply siya sa registration. Meron siyang mga information na ilalagay dyan that may be covered by the Data Privacy Act. We have to make sure that only those who are authorized see the data, and only those who are the rightful authorized person of the company will give us the data. And that is something that we need to look into. You know, technically, hindi mo alam kung si Juan de la Cruz, pumasok siya and for this particular taxpayer, yung nilagay niya information, tama ba? No? Or siya ba talaga yung authorized? Kasi the data privacy, there is something. So we need to require submission of certain board resolution or special power of attorney, whichever is applicable for purposes of authorized representative, considering that in the initial we have this corporation and, you know, corporation is not physically present. So there is something that somebody, no, who will have to represent this particular company. So initially, yun yung tingin ko na medyo major, no, na data challenges that we have to look into. Yan po, Ms. Bea.
Kaya,
Yes, thank you po, Ma'am Janet. Yes po, Miss Lucita po.
oo, I agree with Ma'am Janet kasi on the LGU side for the PSIC, napakadugo po talaga ng PSIC na yun eh. And even the LGU, nahihirapan po sila kasi yun ang nagiging problem po din pagdating sa classification sa baba. The LGU cannot properly identify the right PSIC for the kind of business kasi meron siyang general classification and marami siyang sub classification po. So yeah, yun din po nagiging problema sa LGU pagdating po sa PSIC. Kung hindi talaga ma-identify, mahirap po talaga i-classify yung mga business establishment po.
So it's really about marrying din po the types of data that we have, of course, with what's required of us. And of course, yung transition from older classifications of data to newer classifications.
Ms. Bea,
Yes po, ma'am.
this is something that I have to add kasi experience din yung server na on-premise, nasa building ninyo, nasa office ninyo. Now, we're transitioning to cloud. So, yung pag-transition sa cloud, may implication din siya on the speed. Tapos, ganun din, no? May configuration din ginagawa dun sa cloud para to fit itong mga data mo. So, hindi lang from one machine to another machine. Ngayon kasi yung cloud is different configuration. So, something also that we actually have also an experience with that in a system na Nung naka-on-premise kami, itong old and new namin, pareho yung server, nasa isang lugar, real-time yung transaction. As in, wala, pitik-pitik ka lang, nagagawa ang transaction. But when we transition to cloud, my gulay, yun pong dating 4 seconds, naging 100 seconds. And you imagine, yung laki ng gap, nag-queue yung data, nag-queue yung transactions. So nagkaroon ng performance issue po kami doon sa pag-transition namin na yan. From on-prem server to yung on cloud. So again, I'm just sharing kasi ito mga na-experience namin which we are considering now in another system that we are implementing soon. Sige po. Dagdag lang.
Opo, thank you, Ma'am Janet. So, I think one of the things we picked up a while ago, yung issue of data security and data privacy. I think it was a major concern for everyone here. So maybe I'd like to ask TESDA or maybe even PIDEA, what were the data security challenges or maybe even data privacy challenges that you're experiencing or that you've already anticipated in your projects?
Yes, ma'am, for PIDEA po. So, we also have in-house developers and we outsource yung aming service providers. So, isa po dun sa mga data challenges is yung finding a service provider that would meet your requirements. So, they may comply with the initial requirements sa bidding or procurement process. However, pagdating na dun sa mismong system, once na available na yung system, doon na makikita kung talaga bang they can meet yung requirements na sinet mo, which causes the delays. And also, same with the BIR, yung transfer of the existing data to the new system. Isa rin yun sa mga data challenges po ni PIDEA. Yun lang po for PIDEA. Thank you po.
Thank you. So before we go into this question from Juneth Noble, let's ask Ms. Ida from TESDA, what are the data security or maybe data privacy challenges you're experiencing? Since you're working this time, I think with organizations or with companies rather than with individual users.
Thank you, Ms. Bea. Actually, may mga individual din kami, especially dun sa mga ini-issuean po namin ng mga NC, and of course, may mga since educational yung education agency tayo, may mga nagbabalidate for the educational credential po ng ating mga stakeholders like po yung ating mga trainees. For that kasi for TESDA, we develop po our policies and guidelines on data privacy, and under din po yan ng mga specific laws natin na ini-issue po ng ating ating government. Actually, meron na pong natapos, meron na pong isang policy na ini-issue po ang TESDA, and of course in coordination din po yan ng ating mga government agency who are responsible for the data privacy. Yun po. And we always consider po naman yung privacy ng ating mga stakeholders. We always put a policy on in every information we provided to other stakeholders. That's all.
Thank you po, ma'am. So, this is all about, I guess, yung how we really focus on part of our citizen-centric design is also making sure that they feel safe using our services or our new upgraded services.
Yes.
Yun po. So, Ma'am Janet, there's a specific question here about using cloud. So, given your considerations or your concerns about security and also, of course, with the integration.
Oh, definitely no. Kasi technology yan. That's the reason we have to cope up with technology. Unang-una, if you have a very big data that you expect to come in or to house, cloud is actually yan na yung trend. Ngayon, security-wise, sa pagkakasabi po sa amin ng aming technical, kasi hindi po ako technical person, operations po ako. Kaya lang, yung mga projects namin kasi ngayon puro nga digital. Ang nangyayari po, yung cloud, merong sinasabing private at saka public. No? So, pagka public, mas secured. Pero sa amin sa layman's, parang public nga, hindi ang daming nakakakita, sabi namin. Hindi secured, but it's the other way around, the way our IT explained. Kasi pag public daw siya, mas maraming security, mas maraming in-implement na mga security siya rather than yung private. Kaya sabi nila, yung public, mas mas secured siya. Now, as to whether you're going to use cloud or mga on-prem server, I think your technical will have to assess. Hindi ko pwedeng sabihin na huwag kayo mag-cloud, on-prem na lang, or on-prem na lang ang gamitin nyo. Kasi it would all depend on your needs. Like BIR. The BIR, all our servers are already on-prem. In fact, may hosting kami sa DICT, may server kami sa DICT. But just the same, versioning to cloud. Why? Ang dami-dami naming data kailangan. And habang dumadami yung data, palaki ng palaking makina, 'di ba? Yung alam naman natin yung server na on-prem, makina yan na cabinet, parang cabinet. So, habang dumadami yung data, dagdag ka ng dagdag, hanggang bandang huli, wala ka ng paglalagyan. So, for practical reasons, yan nandiyan na yung cloud. And that is technology. As to security, I think your IT would know better than I do. And normally, pag naman mga ganyan, bago tayo pumapasok sa isang project, especially on IT, meron din tayong mga consultant na pwedeng mapagtanungan as to some concerns. So I would suggest that yan po ang gawin natin. Kasi kami din naman, meron din kaming mga learnings. Kahit na meron kaming IT, sariling IT namin, yung mga tao namin sa IT, may learnings pa din nila once we have this experience. So, yun nga, technology, pabago-bago yan. Hindi naman lahat alam kung ano ang bago. Lalo tayo, may mga, the young ones, ONCE, di ba? Not the ONES. Medyo, we need to learn more and we're not that interested anymore to learn or to study rather, di ba? Unang-una, position natin, decision-making na tayo. Hindi naman tayo yung tagagawa. So, yung mga tagagawa, kayo mag-aral, no? And then, sabihin nyo sa amin, para kami ngayon, magde-decide. Explain mo sa amin for the decision on our level. So, yung mga bata, sila yung bahala dyan sa mga ganyan. Kanya-kanyang expertise tayo. Tayong managerial level na. So, ours is different. Leave it to the young ones, the ONES. Ayan.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Janet. So I think this is a very interesting way to look at our next steps, especially since a lot of our projects are more into digital transformation or even digital government as a whole. So thank you to our resource persons, to our speakers, our presenters, and to all of and to your teammates, of course, for working on your projects and preparing your thank you again to all of you. Now we will move on to the closing session. I'll just remove the pin on everyone. Okay, so again, thank you. Let's clap naman po for our presenters, our resource persons for this session. Okay. So now we will go into we're going to close the program in a bit. But before that, we just like to remind everyone to please accomplish the evaluation form. You will also share a link in the chat, and this will allow us, of course, to make sure that we have your details as well for the certificates. Okay, so of course, we will also encourage you to continue the discussion either maybe on Facebook or on your other forms of social media, and even to contact the agencies. And we'll also, of course, hold future sessions on other possible innovations. And also, just to, I guess, synthesize what our resource persons have been talking about. There was a question a while ago about whether or not all citizen-centered services should be digital. And of course, that's not necessarily the case as long as the services, of course, aligned with our citizens' needs and expectations, and of course, our existing regulations and our existing legislation. It's about marrying the two rather than just simply digitalizing. So that's one thing that I think we can all take away with us as we close our session today. So just a little note about the certificate. So we actually, a lot of the participants here are already the presenters were previous participants of our workshop. So we'd like to first recognize their achievement. So we will just show you quickly the certificate of completion for our past participants. So okay, so we will award these, of course. We will send these to your email addresses. So these are the certificates of completion for our participants who have not only conducted or have not only been part of the workshops, but have also shared their innovations with us today. And for our resource persons or our speakers who completed the 2020 run of the project, we will of course send you as well certificates of appreciation to your emails, to you and of course the members of your team. Okay, so just stay tuned for that. And for the viewers here, we will send you certificates after you complete your evaluations. Okay, and to formally close our activity, we would like to invite the Senior Vice President for Program Operations of the Development Academy of the Philippines, Ms. Magdalena L. Mendoza, to give us the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Bea, to all our presenters from the Department of Health, Department of Tourism, Department of Social Welfare and Development, the Department of the Interior and Local Government, the Department of Public Works and Highways, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, Department of Trade and Industry, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, and the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. And to all our participants, good afternoon na po. We are already at lunchtime, but thank you very much for sharing your journey in conceptualizing innovations to design citizen-centered public services. No? Very interesting yung mga presentations, and I'm sure you all learned a lot from the presenters. And let me affirm everyone on your progress and wish that your innovations will be adopted and broadly implemented in your offices. Since, as you know, what we need in government today are new ways of work and doing things, focusing on citizens that we ought to serve. In recent years, we have seen the emergence of new technologies, particularly IT, and alongside, people develop new expectations on how the public sector should operate. Our public is demanding easy access to government, seamless delivery, and no red tape, shorter waiting times, lower transaction costs. And these demands were heightened by the pandemic, which required uninterrupted service and preferably contactless and possibly just doing them online. We are thus mandated to revisit and simplify our operations and ensure that they are focused on the citizens. For instance, in the fiscal year 2021 performance-based bonus, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with, agencies' performance will now be evaluated, with emphasis on the public's satisfaction on the ease of doing business or the ease of transaction. And I am glad that you have taken steps to re-engineer the processes and requirements considered as wasteful by the transacting public and conceptualize solutions and new procedures to facilitate the citizen-centered service delivery. You have all seen in the past months that innovation takes time because of iteration. As you refine your concepts, many of you found yourselves returning to the drawing table. That's okay. The good thing is that we try and test soon enough and see if our innovation will work. And in case it doesn't work, the thing is we should quickly make the correction. I note the challenges mentioned during the presentations, no? Whether to outsource or to develop these digital systems in-house, the connectivity issues, the issues on data security and data privacy constraints. How do you engage with the citizens and siguro respond to their changing requirements? The DAP will try to help relay the message. No, if we have a chance to concerned agencies or to certain siguro committees, so that we can help accelerate your innovations. We sincerely hope that as you look back on your journey, you are heartened by how far you have come. May this encourage you to find more opportunities to innovate towards citizen-centered service delivery. I am sure you have heard of this quote from Albert Einstein. And I quote, sabi niya, we cannot solve our problems using the same thinking that we use to create them. End of quote. So we must use our knowledge to reimagine the way we deal with the citizens and make our agencies more sensitive and agile in responding to their needs, especially under the new normal. So at this point, let me reiterate my affirmations to all of you for your very active participation. Let me also extend our gratitude to our resource speakers and facilitators, Peter Danbaon, Bea Orante, Adrian Ramirez, Nadine Malapira, and Julius Gregorio for sharing their knowledge and expertise, and to our COE members, Roche, Teresa, Geneva, Carly, and Ella, for working tirelessly to carry out the program. Let me inform you that the DAP, as the government's main training arm and also as the National Productivity Organization, is doing its part to capacitate government agencies to become more agile and future-ready. As the APO Center of Excellence on Public Sector Productivity, we are more than happy to support you in your journey towards citizen-centered service delivery and higher productivity. Thank you very much at enjoy your lunch po.
Edeng, thank you for those words and for encouraging our participants. So before we let everyone go, let's have one quick group photo so we can have something to remember this session by. Okay, so please turn on your cameras and we will take the photos. Okay, so I'll just give you a few moments to turn on your cameras. Okay. Okay. So we have 10 we have 10 slides to go through, okay? So first one, I'll give you the signal to smile, okay? Ready? First slide. 1, 2. Oops. Okay. Sorry, wait lang po. May nag Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, we will go to the next slide. All right. Next slide. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, everyone here, ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, third. Okay, third group. Ready na po yung third? Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Smile na po. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, next group. So, slide 4 na po tayo. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Smile po sa fourth group. Okay. I think yung mga ibang slide, yung ibang the other slides or the other frames already don't have camera. So it's okay po. We will send we're okay na po. So we already have the photos of the participants who wanted to turn on their camera. So again, thank you everyone for participating and of course for sending your questions, for not just listening but sending your questions and interacting with our resource persons. So we hope to see you all in future DAP activities. If you would like to, of course, learn more about the work that we're doing here in the COEPSP, you may reach us through through our socials. So on Facebook, YouTube, we also have a website, and you can reach us through email. So you can learn more about the program and even about the other initiatives that we're doing. So thank you again to everyone, and have a great day. Enjoy your lunch. Well, so thank you all again. Let's all have a productive day.
Thank you
very much, DAP. Thank you,
Thank you
Mama
so
Lisa.
much.
Thank you, Miss
Thank you,
Bea.
Thank you, Bea. Thank you, their group.
Thank you to all. Keep safe po.
Magdalena. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Everyone. Salamat.
Salamat from PMDP. Thank you. Salamat.
Thank you.